Hello everyone, Shorty and I are back for another video, and I'm not going to apologize for wearing the same overshirt and wearing this sweatshirt. They're not part of my winter ensemble. They are my winter ensemble. Get used to it. It's been very cold, and these particular shirts, my overshirt and my sweatshirt, are not only warm, but comfortable. So, I've been talking in my earlier videos about how I would like the country to break up into separate countries. I would like to see. Claudia has decided to join me. Okay, Claudia, say hello to the people watching us on YouTube. This is my real kitty, and I have another one named Chico. You're such a cutie. You're a cutie. Yeah. She likes to hop up onto the kitchen counter where I'm doing this video and we're doing most of my videos from. She likes the camera, doesn't she? You have the sweetest meow. Okay, Claudia. There you go. Sorry about that. Well, actually, I'm not because I love to show off my cute little girl cat. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Now, I've been talking in previous videos about how the United States should break up into separate countries and how that can be achieved by having some of the Democratic states secede from the Union in the hopes of triggering a process that will lead to the dissolution of the Union. But as I said in a previous video, why should that be my objective as a New Jersey resident? My objective shouldn't be the breakup of the entire United States. I should just concentrate more on New Jersey seceding from the Union. Now, New Jersey could be its own country, as I said before. But if enough of some of the other northeastern states secede from the Union, the Middle Atlantic states, or at least 4 of the Middle Atlantic states, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, could still form their own country. While there are 3 other Middle Atlantic states, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, I don't think West Virginia would pull out of the Union unless Virginia, its mother state, did so. And neither Maryland or Virginia are in a position to secede simply because they surround Washington, D.C., and Donald Trump would not take too kindly to either state trying to withdraw from the Union. So, if there is to be a new country formed out of the Middle Atlantic states, we'd have to rule out, for the time being, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, because farther down the road, maybe the entire country could break up, and then Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia would be welcome to join a Middle Atlantic republic. Now, this country I propose is a country I would call Lenapia, after the Lenape Indians who used to inhabit the area that is now mostly New Jersey, southern New York State, and eastern Pennsylvania. Somebody might come up with a better name. But I think these states would work perfectly together as one country because of the cultural similarities. And the cultural similarities we have are this. We're a bunch of nasty people. People who live in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and to a lesser extent Delaware are some of the meanest, crudest, rudest, nastiest people you can ever expect to meet. New York City would obviously make the perfect capital for this Middle Atlantic Republic simply because it is the largest city in the present day United States, and it's also a center for commerce, finance, culture, and global geopolitics. After all, the United Nations is based there. And we could easily find enough open space in Queens or down on Staten Island to build a new legislative building for this Middle Atlantic Republic, as well as a building that house our Supreme Court, as also an executive mansion. I don't know exactly where in the outer boroughs we could build all the apparatus we need for a government, but Manhattan is too crowded and the land there is too expensive. Now, a lot of people think of New York City as a place of sophistication because so much of the American elite live there, mostly in East Midtown and the Upper East Side of Manhattan. That's where all the bankers and financiers live, where all the art patrons live. The silk stocking crowd. And of course, New York City is known for its theater, its art museums, and so many other cultural repositories. But dig below the surface. You'll find a lot of loudmouth jerks living in New York City, and a lot of really tough and nasty people. I mean, the Bronx, Brooklyn. I mean, good grief, those people are as hard-edged as the street corners in New York City. I mean, you don't want to mess with the people in Harlem or in Little Italy, for that matter. I already mentioned Queens. And I haven't even begun to talk about all the badass hard-edged suburbanites out on Long Island. You think they're bad? Consider Newark. There's this old joke that goes, what would New York City be without Christian Dior? Newark. Sums it up. I mean, Newark is full of some of really tough hombres, some really nasty, crude, rude people. I mean, it's not a town for wimps. You gotta be really tough to survive in Newark. And you need that same toughness to survive in pretty much all of Essex County, where Newark is located. I happen to be an Essex County resident. Let me tell you, I can get pretty nasty when I'm crossed. So can a lot of people in Newark and its immediate environs. I mean, some of them are really squat, heavyset, muscular. They look as mean as they are, and they are as mean as they look, and they can pile drive you into the ground by just using their fists on your head. And if you think they're bad, you should see their boyfriends. I swear, the Jersey girl stereotype is so perfect. The only nice young women I have met in New Jersey, except for one, all tend to come from somewhere else. They moved here. I want to give you an idea of how nasty and tough people in New Jersey are. You might remember our most recent Republican governor, Chris Christie. Imagine a state full of people like Chris Christie, and that sums it up. And I guarantee you, you definitely don't want to go down to places on the Jersey Shore like Seaside Heights. I mean, those are the sort of places that inspire the reality show Jersey Shore. You know what I mean? And of course, um, I didn't want to bring it up, but both New York and New Jersey do have the mob. I won't say any more. Now, the reason our new governor, Mikey Sherrill, seems like a nice lady with her perfectly coiffed hair and her megawatt smile, the reason she seems like she's from out of state is because originally she is. She's from Virginia originally. But don't let that all American look fool you. You've heard of the Squad? Those left wing minority women in the House of Representatives? Well, there was another group of center left white women, all Democrats, in the House of Representatives known as the Badasses. Mikey Sherrill was one of them. Remember, she's a former Navy pilot. So while some out of state women move to New Jersey and still carry a touch of whatever other part of the country they came from, there are others like Mikey Sherrill who become Jersey girls almost overnight. And then, of course, Pennsylvania is another example. You go to Philadelphia and you think it's a very nice, genteel town, assuming you're there on vacation and you're visiting it for the first time. And yes, Philadelphia does seem somewhat like London. Rittenhouse Square, Alfred's Alley, the beautiful Benjamin Franklin Parkway with the art museum at one end and that incredible City Hall building on the other. Yeah, Philadelphia has some really tough neighborhoods too. There's North Philadelphia, where my grandfather grew up, mostly working class Irish at the time. My grandfather's old neighborhood is now more Puerto Rican. but it hasn't lost any of its edge, obviously, because Puerto Ricans and Irishmen are very much alike when it comes to temperament. But then when you trace your heritage to a country that's been taken over by a foreign power that forces their language down your throats, and of course, I have to point out that South Philly is very rough and tumble, to put it mildly. That's where Philadelphia's Italian population mostly lives. And take it from somebody who's half Italian and whose Irish family came from Philadelphia. You want to watch your step down in South Philly. And yes, there is an elite in Philadelphia. People descended from old Anglo-Saxon families. The Richardsons, the Dilworths. But they're a throwback to an earlier age. Philadelphia politics are really full of sharp elbows, and the Philadelphia police, they would make the Los Angeles Police Department look like the Mayberry Sheriff's Office. The county sheriff, Philadelphia is a county as well as a city, recently threatened immigration and customs enforcement agents. She said that if they try to mess with Philadelphia, Philly's going to mess with them. And that gives you an idea of what ICE would be up against if they tried to take over Philadelphia. Oh, and by the way, I have an obvious bias towards Philadelphia, as my grandfather's cousin was mayor of the 60s, in the 60s, Jim Tate. I'm not making that up. My grandfather's cousin was Jim Tate, who was mayor from 1962 to 1972, and he got crap done. He was very successful, so successful, in fact, that he was reelected overwhelmingly against his Republican opponent in 1967, and his Republican opponent was an attorney who had already become famous as counsel to the Warren Commission, Arlen Specter. Now, the rest of Pennsylvania, everybody thinks, oh, the Amish, soft pretzels, those quaint rolling farms, especially in Bucks County and the Brandywine Valley. Yeah. You go to the midsection of the state and you find all these steel towns where the people are really hard edged. They're so tough that they could scare somebody from South Philly. And of course, there's Pittsburgh, Steel Town. Need I say more? And of course, there are a lot of other smaller steel towns throughout the state. And there are mine towns, especially around Scranton. Scranton, now that is a really rough and tumble place. I've been there. As for Delaware, yes, Delaware is associated with the DuPont family, and they have more money than water. and they've built all these wonderful historic mansions and gardens in northern Delaware. But Joe Biden, who's originally from Scranton, grew up in a town called Claymont, which is famous for its oil tank farms. In fact, the entire area between Philadelphia and Wilmington, the US 13 corridor, is full of oil tanks, refineries, some really horrible industrial landscapes, and of course includes Philadelphia International Airport. Some of the towns there include Trainer and Marcus Hook in Pennsylvania, as well as Claymont, Delaware, and they make Bayonne, New Jersey look like the original Bayonne in France. So, yes, we in the upper middle Atlantic region have a lot of attitude, and we can be very nasty, and we can be very insolent, and we could use that to our advantage because if New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware were to secede from the Union and form a new country, Donald Trump, I'm sure, would send the army up I-95 from Washington to put down the separatist movement. And when his army got to the Delaware Memorial Bridge, they'd be met with some of the nastiest, meanest people they'll ever see in their lives. We'll be ready for them, and we'll be ready to fight them. They'll never take the Delaware Memorial Bridge, even if they stay on the western bank of the Delaware River and take Philadelphia first. They won't even make it past Chester. You get enough people from South Philly and some of the more blue-collar towns in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, to stand guard and wait for them. It's like that old line in Casablanca where someone asks Rick Blaine, what would happen if the Germans tried to invade the United States? And he said that they'd never be able to take Brooklyn. Neither would Trump. So, yeah, we're a tough, nasty, insolent people, and therefore we have the moxie to start a new country with our 4 states. But we also have the wealth and the culture to give us a lot of soft power and also a lot of prestige as one of the nations of the world. Now, of course, as soon as we did become an independent country, and we might have to fight it out against Trump and his minions. I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed up. Although we might not have to get mussed up too much, who knows? If the first thing Trump does is to try to send ICE to Philadelphia, well, if we're going to have a war for independence and the first thing Trump does is send ICE agents to Philadelphia, the surrender and the recognition of our independence will all happen in about 2 weeks at the most. Maybe 4 or 5 days. But once a Middle Atlantic Republic did come into being, we would have a lot of gravitas simply because we'd have New York City, Philadelphia, we'd have a strong economy generated by these cities and all points in between. Pittsburgh, Trenton, Buffalo, they're not exactly industrial cities anymore, but we still produce a lot for the American economy, and we always go underappreciated. Even though New Jersey and New York pay more in federal taxes than they get back. Pennsylvania is an outlier. They get more in federal taxes than they pay in. But Pennsylvania is still a linchpin among the states of the East Coast. That's why it's called the Keystone State. Although I think California is the real Keystone State these days. If that state were to ever leave the Union, then the United States would break up into multiple countries, but that's for another video. So, yes, I think a Middle Atlantic Republic called Lenapia, or maybe something else, Mid-Atlantica, I'm not fussy, such a country would be a formidable country because of the economic wealth and the general prosperity that these four states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, produce. And that would take a lot out of the economy of the remaining states. In my next video, I'll talk about what a Republic of New England might be like. Until then, bye.